look at what's making news in print and online this morning. We're joined by research fellow at Deakin University and rural podcaster, Kirsten DeProse. Good morning to you, Kirsten. You're coming to us from Warrnambool, aren't you?
Good morning, Lisa. Yes, indeed I am. Beautiful Warrnambool.
Yes, well...
chilly at the moment.
Everywhere's got something in common at the moment in Victoria, and that is a state election campaign. So tell us what the Age is suggesting this morning on the front page.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because it looks like Daniel Andrews and Matthew Guy are neck and neck in terms of that, primary vote as preferred premier. So both sitting at 36%. The Age has run a recent poll. Resolve Strategic did that poll, and it's found that 7 percentage points is the gap. Labor has fallen by 7 percentage points since the last election, and indeed since the last time it did a survey, which was about a month ago. It slipped a few points as well from there, and that's probably quite a surprise to some. Daniel Andrews has been the premier since 2014 here in Victoria. He's been known as sort of the unassailable premier. He, of course, was quite prominent during the COVID years. But look, now we've got these extra pressures. We've got the cost of living. The state of Victoria's hospital system is something that's really a campaigning point at the moment. And it's an interesting tactic by the opposition, because the opposition isn't actually all that well known at the moment. Matthew Guy is the leader. He was the last time around in the election, but there's sort of the critics are saying that they're campaigning on the other guy, as in making it more of a referendum on Daniel Andrews rather than putting up a viable opposition. But polls are suggesting that perhaps it's working. That said, Labor has been in power for a long time, and Labor has a margin of more than 9 points in 40 seats across this state. So the last few days of this election, Saturday is the big day, are going to be neck and neck. That said, about 1 million Victorians have already voted.
Yeah, interesting figures. Important to note that an extrapolated two-party preferred vote would still see Daniel Andrews' Labor government return, obviously with much fewer seats, but the tightening of the polls certainly shows the potential, or points to the potential, of a minority government.
Certainly does, which, I think Victoria really hasn't faced in a long time, and particularly last election, Daniel Andrews really, and Labor government won that quite easily.
Hey, Kirsten, let's talk about Twitter and Elon Musk, although he's allowing various people back on, including the former US President Donald Trump. He's drawn the line at Alex Jones, who's the conspiracy theorist who declared the Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax.
That's right, and what's interesting about this sort of news story about Elon Musk is that he has in fact drawn a line. So he calls himself a free speech absolutist, and over the last few days, Donald Trump, Kanye West, and a few other high-profile people with very controversial views, sometimes quite misogynistic views, have been allowed back on Twitter. And he was asked by a podcast host in the US whether he would allow Alex Jones back online, and he said no. Elon Musk himself lost a child to sudden infant death syndrome in 2002, and he said he would never allow anyone who, profits or gets fame from the death of children onto Twitter. So the interesting point about that is that he clearly hasn't defined free speech before this. He's really avoided that topic, but now he has drawn a line. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, because it really goes down to the notion of what is free speech. We talk about it in democracy all the time, but of course we've never really had free speech. We've never been allowed to defame people, to purport crazy theories or theories that really go against the moral fibre of society. And indeed with the law, we're not allowed to be in contempt of court and go against the due process of courts. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does come up with some sort of process of assessing free speech. And look, Twitter at the moment is in all sorts of turmoil. We've seen people, leave the company. Elon Musk has been talking about people having to pay for ticks. So there is all sorts of changes happening at Twitter. But this is an indication that perhaps there could be a line drawn in the sand when it comes to the notion of free speech.
Well, wait and see and watch that space, certainly. Let's go appropriately in your your patch to farm online, Kirsten. It's got a story on Kelpie sales.
That's right. This one's really for you, Lisa.
Yes.
You might even know some of these dogs. This is a great story because Kelpie working dogs, of course, are very important in farm life. And there's been a record made in Kelpie sales. So one of the dogs made famous in the ABC's muster dogs, known as Mouse, has been sold to a Central Victorian farm at a sale in Glen Thompson, which is about an hour north of where I am now. It's a tiny town. But it sold for a record-breaking $28,000. So putting that into perspective,
$28,000.
yeah. One dog, $28,000. The previous records was set at a sale in Jerilderie, and that was just over $10,000. So Mouse has absolutely hit it out of the park. So it's Joe Spicer, who was the breeder and expert trainer on muster dogs, who was running this sale. So he sold it for $28,000. He made an average price across his 15 dogs of over $17,000. So absolutely smashed it out of the park. Another dog, Truce, which fans might remember, was sold as well for $14,000, and I've been assured that they're all going to very good homes and will be much loved.
I bet they are. Hey, Kirsten DeProse, thanks very much.
Thank you.